Hey everyone, this is Tatiana Green and I am the author of Journey to 30, but in this special video for Journey through 30, I wanted to talk to the younger people, meaning the millennials who are on the younger side and the Generation Z, people who are like my youngest sister's age and all of that. We are living in a pretty radical time. It's unprecedented. Things are happening, there's tension, there's confusion, and I want to make sure that as a big sister to little sisters and brothers out there, that you guys are really doing what you need to do as far as doing the hard work. And this video is in particular about having conversations with parents, with elders in your family, even with your brothers and sisters, cousins, etc., about the conversations that need to be had about racism, colorism, and any other form of prejudice in your family. So as a Black woman, I'm gonna share from my own experience, as well as give you some practical tips on how you can approach this to just encourage you to keep doing the work, because this is part of how we're going to really see change in our community and in our culture. What you can do, since we have so much access to technology, is equip ourselves with the right knowledge, with the correct facts, with the correct statistics, with people's stories, so that when we have these conversations with our family, we can come correct and be able to present them with information that they can't really come against because we have facts to go off of and not just feelings. I just want to give you some quick points to keep you encouraged and keep you informed as you continue in this season and have these moments with people who you love and care about. What we're up against decades, if not centuries, of unchanged and unchallenged mindsets. We're coming against prejudice and racism, colorism, fear of other people who may not look like you and your family members. And even if you have a diverse background, that doesn't mean that there aren't racist people in your family. And so what I've noticed is online recently, there have been pictures or videos of people having conversations with their family members, addressing any racist beliefs that they may have. And it's a hard fight. You're coming against mindsets that haven't been challenged. You're coming against these beliefs that suggest that what they know is right because this is what it's been all this time. So do not get frustrated in the moment. I know it's very aggravating. It was frustrating for me to watch, but don't stay in that feeling. You have to push past that and keep doing the work. These may be people who you know, who may be ignorant to what you know. So what that means is perhaps you're a first generation college student and you had the opportunity to get more education. The more education you have, the more your eyes are open to what's going on in the world. And you're able to have a better understanding, hopefully, of the plights of other people, including but not limited to what Blacks in America have experienced. The African American experience, Black people in America have a different experience than people who are not Black. It is what it is. So either if you're Asian, if you're white, if you're Latino, if you are Native American, you all have your own set of issues in your communities, and you all have your own set of experiences in America. I think not many of us have those conversations with our loved ones, our parents, because we don't want to rock the boat, or they have this mindset that this is how we do it in this household, this is what we believe, this is what these people are. But have you ever thought of, well, I was told that going to college and getting an education was going to make me a better person, was going to give me better opportunities, was going to get me a better job. It's not just about the money, it's about getting to a new level of thinking. And so when you are sent off to college, that your parents most likely encourage you to do, and you come back with this new set of information and this new open mindset and this new belief that, yes, all people should have rights. Yes, Black people shouldn't be murdered unjustly by the police. And you bring this information to your parents and they're not trying to get it. I understand. And it's that tension that we're dealing with. These are what we're up against. And there's plenty more. But I just want to bring these three up. One of my favorite scriptures in the Bible is actually about young people, and hopefully it will encourage you in this season. 1 Timothy 4:12 says that, "Do not let others discourage you or look down upon you because you're young, but be an example to the believers in faith, life, love, speech, and in purity." So what that means is, despite how young you are, despite the fact that you are the child of the family, you still have some responsibility to speak up at some point. Respectfully, of course. You still want to honor your parents, and that's where some of this contention and tension may be, right? And we're going to get to that. But as a young person, with this knowledge, with this understanding, this empathy, this passion, and belief that yes, all people should be treated equally and should not be treated less than because of the color of their skin, you can speak up. You have the right to do that through your speech, through your example on how you live your life, how you talk about your friends, how you treat your friends, how you treat your family members. Even through that, they can be an example to them about the grace and patience and empathy that they need to exude to other people who don't look like them. So here's what we can expect. There's one thing to address what we're up against when we have these conversations with our family members, but we have to have an understanding of what to expect from these conversations. You might be dealing with stubborn pride. And stubborn pride has a number of sources. I'm not a psychologist, but I read books that deal with pride, that deal with different mindsets that manifest into what we look at now as racism. A lot of times, pride has a source of fear. And fear is a huge, huge spiritual, emotional adversary to everyone. Fear comes for everybody, and fear comes in multiple forms. Fear is a foundation for pride, which then can turn into racism. You see that? So there's layers to this. So when you understand that there's layers to all of that, you can come to the conversation with a thought like, okay, I know we're going to have to do some digging, and that's okay. And you're going to also run into parental and adult pride, because even if you have a parent who loves you and cherishes you and wants you to get the best education and wants you to be the best person you can be, they may have some entitlement issues and some pride that would suggest that because you're the child, you have nothing to teach them, and they don't need to listen to you because you're a younger person. So like I said in the scripture presented earlier, you do have an ability to speak your mind and live as an example to people who are older than you. So with honor, which is something we need to acknowledge in these family relationships, honor your parents, regardless. You want to respectfully ask them questions. You want to respectfully enter these conversations. What you can also expect is hate and rejection. And those are two big things, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, psychologically, generationally, that have been passed down. Like, you may have heard this before. People aren't born hating somebody else because of the color of their skin. They are taught that. So people who are older than us, maybe people in your family, maybe your own siblings, at some point, they saw that hating someone else based on the color of their skin was okay. And this could be within your own community. This can be within your own culture. In the African American community, for example, we have issues with colorism, and we have not addressed that as much as we should. But that's not the big elephant in the room, but it's definitely present in the room. Having those colorism conversations can lead to bring up, why do people hate their own skin tone, or hate other people's skin tones, or favor one skin tone over another? And then if you have racism issues in the family, what is the source of the hate? Who started that? Who taught them that hatred? Who passed that on? That came from someone. So don't go in there just with this idea in this conversation that this person is just full of hate. There's a reason why. Hatred is a taught behavior. And it's also something that we can eradicate with the right tools. Rejection, which I mentioned earlier, is also a big issue. Oftentimes, we reject what we don't understand. I don't like math. I don't like infinite math. I didn't like it when I was in grad school. So I was like, I reject this. We often hate and reject things we do not know. And if you have family members who honestly do not have any kind of real, genuine conversations or connections with people who are African American or Black, guess what? They are probably not going to know how to deal with Black people or talk to people who happen to be Black. They may have this internal rejection based off of stereotypes that they've seen on the news, or they've seen in popular culture, or what they've heard from other friends, or their church, or their organization, or their job. They're taking all this outward information about what other people do, and they have this assumption and this rejection towards those people. And they don't want to have the conversations then, because they don't know what to say. They just know that they don't know that side of life. They don't know those kind of people, so they just reject it. They don't know how to approach it, so they just reject it. This is where you come in. Bring it on back. We're having a conversation, and this is where you share how you have, developed relationships with people who are Black, people who are Asian, people who are Latino, people who are not like you, okay? This is for everybody. And so we want to reject the notion that you should reject something you don't know. How about you get to know them? How about you bring some books to the conversation, bring some suggestions, bring some quality television, quality videos and movies that you can talk to your parents or your family members to encourage them to watch with you, and then have a discussion after that. What not to do? There's a couple things, maybe three. The one I would say is to not get argumentative with them. This right here, listen, I understand we're all emotional right now. The emotions, the tensions are high, the frustrations are high. But this is not the time to meet that kind of anger with your passionate anger. Because you know why? Because you're not going to get anywhere meeting someone on the same level like that. If you meet anger with anger, you're only going to get a shouting match, and it's only going to put up more walls between you two. When you have these conversations with your family members who may be racist, colorist, prejudiced, whatever, do your very best to not go to that level. As Michelle Obama says, when they go low, we go high. Sometimes it's going to take that humility to be the calm one in the conversation, because that is not going to, getting loud and just shouting is not always going to be the solution to the problem. You're going to have to be the calm one and let them know hey, I understand you're upset. I'm upset too. But what we're not going to do is argue and you get loud with me so you can get your way and I walk away and we don't have any actual solutions or resolutions to our conversation here. Understand the tactics of what you're coming up against. So don't get argumentative. Get smart and bring some peace and calm to the conversation, but back it up with facts. What not to do, another thing, is to not judge them. This is hard because you may have righteous indignation and righteously upset about how you feel, and you want to just let them know hey, you're wrong, you're hateful, you're a bigot, you're prejudiced, you're racist, you're colorist. Judging someone based off of that is kind of condemning them, and that could further build up a wall of the pride that we talked about earlier. So what you want to do is judge the action, but not the person. So racist mindset, racist behavior, but not racist person. This may be a little controversial, but if you take the opportunity to consider that if they're not racist anymore, if they don't have racist ideals anymore, that doesn't make them racist anymore. So let's not call them that. Let's call the situation, the mindset, the thought, the action racist. Give them an opportunity to change. Give them that grace. And the last one for what not to do is to not cut them off immediately. You're going to run into situations and conversations with your family who may be racist, prejudiced, colorist, whatever, and you just cannot get through to them. They have this toxic belief. They believe what they believe. They stand in their wrong. And you know what? That's okay. You're not obligated to enable anyone to be racist or colorist or prejudiced in any way or form. You all can agree to disagree. You can respectfully disagree with your family member. You can respectfully disagree with your parent. Still, keep honor. But if it's a toxic situation where they're abusive, where they're emotionally abusive, verbally abusive, even physically abusive over this, you can definitely leave the situation. But don't cut them off immediately because the first conversation you all had about racism in who knows how long didn't go the way you planned. Be mindful that, again, we're coming against mindsets, we're coming against pride, we're coming against so many other things that are involved in this conversation that you're not going to get it the first time. And that's okay. Keep fighting. That's why this is the hard work. This is why so many people avoid having these conversations. This is why it was important for me to record this video, because so many people tend to give up easily. But in my own relationships with my family, we had to have these conversations more than once. So trust and believe, you have to keep going. So here's what you can do. Instead of those 3 points of what not to do, here's what you can do when you have these conversations. Be gracious. Be patient. Come with facts. Do your research. Not just go on Twitter for an hour and then bring up all these tweets. They're not going to understand. Give them information that makes sense to them. If they watch the TV all day, chances are they're going to watch the news on TV. The TV news can only say so much. Oftentimes, they have a skewed view on what's really going on. You need to give them the facts. Give them the facts about the protests. Give them the facts about the riots. Give them the facts about the co-ops and people who are taking advantage of people who are peacefully protesting. Give them the facts about the police brutality. Give them the numbers. Give them statistics. That's going to take research. But hey, most likely you know how to do research, whether for a school paper or for a project that you've done before. So you got it in you to bring the facts. Also, ask them questions. How are we going to know how the other person feels if we don't know why they feel the way they feel? What makes you not like Black people, Dad? What's your problem with dark-skinned people, Mom? Why do you hate Latino people, Dad? Uncle, what's up with you and Indian people? Ask them those questions. And if they give you some blanket statement, it may not be the right time to have that conversation, but trust and believe they have a story and a reason why they believe the way they believe. For instance, my mom had her own discriminatory beliefs about Asian people because she herself faced discrimination from Asian people. So I tried to, in our conversations, have those moments of opportunity to question her, like, well, why do you feel like that? Do you believe all people are like that? Do you believe all Asians are like that? And so just hearing from where she's at, hear the hurt that they may be holding on to, hear the anger and the frustration and the disappointment, hear the disrespect that they received. If that's the case, because that's not always the case with people. Like I said, some people just learn to hate other people and they never had an experience with a person who didn't look like them, or that person that they're hating. So they may have an experience, they may not. Either way, ask them questions, hear their stories, and tell your story. Tell your story with your experience with racism. Have you experienced it? Have you benefited from white privilege or light skin privilege or male privilege or whatever privilege, because we all, I believe, have some form of privilege within our groups. There's multiple levels to this. But in regards to the racism conversation with your family members, tell your story about what it was like to have friends of a different race, and or date someone of a different race, or whatever the case is. You want to be transparent with your story. Transparency and vulnerability is huge to making changes in the lives of those that we love and care about. When you're able to sit down and have these conversations, you can talk to your friends and your family and say, like, look, this is what I've been through. This is why I believe that Black people's lives matter too. You know what I'm saying? So when you have these opportunities to tell your story, they may feel compelled to tell their own story. And then that's where you can have the opportunity to bring clarity and healing. So when you tell your story, you want to make it personal. You want to tie it to why you believe what you believe, because oftentimes it can be that could be the example that breaks the mold of prejudice, racism, colorism in your family. Make space if needed. And what that means is give them time to process these thoughts. Don't berate them with the facts and berate them with your opinions and berate them with this ignited passion, whether it's new or it's been there a long time. Give them space to process all this, because they have to literally unpack, unlearn, acknowledge that some of the things that they believed in were wrong. They have to acknowledge the fact that I've been holding on to this mindset and I don't know why, or it was taught to me. I don't know why I was taught to believe that. They're going through their own process and revelation. Give them space if needed. Come back to the conversation when it's the right time, and you'll know when it's the right time. Do not give up, because this will be an ongoing thing. This is part of the meaningful work. This is part of the hard work that needs to be done. I was genuinely relieved to have a conversation about colorism with my dad. I'm not biracial, but I grew up in elementary school. People would ask me if I was mixed because I had this complexion and long hair. My mom is from Haiti. She is brown skinned. She's dark brown or caramel brown, kind of like Queen Latifah. My dad is high yellow, or he's fairer skin on the light skin spectrum. So I'm like in the middle. So I had to have conversations with both of them about colorism, why they believe what they believe and what they've experienced. I haven't had a conversation with my dad about colorism until like a month ago. And it was refreshing to hear his perspective on why he believed what he believed and what he experienced too as a light-skinned Black man. And hearing from my mom what she experienced growing up in Haiti and what her mindset was regarding race and color. These are conversations that you need to have, because you need to understand where your family members are coming from. Either if it's from a negative space or a positive space, or somewhere in between that's a little confused and needs to be ironed out. You can be the change that you want to see in your family. So you may not be the main person changing laws in the country. You may not be the person who's putting people in jail who need to be put in jail and held accountable for what they do to disenfranchise people or marginalize people. But what you can do is be a change maker and an atmosphere changer in your family, in your household. Be willing to be bold and brave enough to have those conversations. And when I say bold and brave, I mean that this is necessary in the society for us to really get along, for us to really move forward. Sit up, pull a chair, have that conversation, or 2, or 5, or 15. It's going to take that. We're all going to have to do it. Black, white, Puerto Rican, Asian, everybody needs to have these conversations, because you never know where your family members are coming from. So with that, I hope this helped you. This is not everything, of course, but there's plenty of resources out here on the internet and in the libraries and at the colleges that can be of good resources to you as you go forward in this time. Make some time to learn more about what you can do to support people who don't look like you, and to let your parents know, your family members know that, hey, we are all human. We're all made in the likeness and image of God. Therefore, we all have equal rights in this country, as we should, to do X, Y, Z as everybody else. And if you're of age, make sure you vote in local elections as well as the federal elections. All right, that's everything. If you have any suggestions, questions, your own experiences with racism, colorism, prejudice, conversations with your parents or family members, feel free to share them in the comments below. Let's all talk, let's all heal, let's all do the work together.